Why, hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 155 of the Sensible Sociopath podcast.
Woohoo!
155.
We're live here on YouTube on a Friday night. Thank you for joining us. My name is Stephen Paul. I am your host. Your host number 2, I guess, would be Superfan Dan.
No one calls me number 2.
Oh, you're number 2, pal.
Yeah, I know.
And, of course, Roma, our producer in the producer's bay.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Roma.
How's it going?
Today is a very great day. We're going to talk about one of the things that's going on in the world, really, which is our short attention spans.
Okay.
I believe that short attention spans are now greater than longer attention spans. I'm really taking a hot take on this, guys.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Am I blowing your minds?
Well, so you think it's a better thing, or you
Yes.
think there's more of it?
I think it's a better thing now.
Okay.
And I guess I plan on establishing that over the next few hours.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So if you're here and you like the show, please subscribe to this channel. Like the thumbs up the video. Also give us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe, share with all of your friends, and leave some comments. We'd love to see some comments.
Please do.
Absolutely. Support the show. So the reason and what actually brought me to this was what we were talking about last week, where Roma wasn't here, but she was in the chat and was present
for a second on my drive over to the concert.
She was here in
Nice.
spirit.
Yeah. Way to go, Roma.
Well,
That's what you do.
Yeah. Oh, I take the night off and then suddenly I don't have to be there for the show. Idiot. No, we were talking about the new Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix.
yes.
And I had this lofty goal, which I didn't think was lofty last week, and I said we need to watch the entire thing for this week.
Which nobody told me about, by the
Roma,
way.
don't play the victim.
Well,
Nobody likes that, except everyone in liberal media and arts. So it doesn't matter as much because Roma watched almost as much as I did. I got through about half of it. I thought it was 5 full episodes. I thought it was a total of like 5 hours. Turns out it's 10 episodes.
okay. I didn't know
So-
how much it was either, to be
Yeah,
fair.
they're only like 45 minutes apiece.
Dan, shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. Oh, they're only like that, much less than you think they are. Ugh. Dan. I have mutiny on my hands here with Roma and Dan.
You want to go ride
You're
bikes?
both just terrible. No, yes, they are like 43, 44 minutes apiece. I say an hour. I round up. Okay. I give benefit of the doubt, B of the D. That's what I say.
I just want to point out how good you are at taking the first letter of phrases and making an acronym for it with like off the top of your head. You
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
all the
yeah,
time, and it's hilarious.
I think it's one of those things you do get better at as you go. I don't know if it's inherent.
I don't think that my mind, I don't even think to do that in my daily life. And yet,
Yeah, sometimes I'll say a sentence and then I'll just be like, oh yeah, IOTGB, or whatever. It's like in the office at night or what, why would you need an acronym for that? How many people do that? It's a daytime thing.
Enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough people do it.
I mean, with shared workspaces and hoteling areas, yeah, sure, but.
okay, wait. But before you go on, can we talk about what we're drinking tonight? Dan
Yeah,
brought in
it's Coke
something
Zero.
special.
Absolutely. Oh,
Coke Zero and fish water.
yeah. It's fish water.
Actually,
Oh,
I have a story about that. Yeah, let's do yours first.
Okay.
Okay.
I went and found a fistful of bourbon
Mm.
because I saw a billboard.
Oh, you saw a
and-
billboard.
Yes, they still exist.
And they work, apparently.
Yeah, that clearly.
Let's get a billboard. What are we doing?
And it should be a picture of Stalin.
My face? Oh,
And it's got to say, "You think this smells like a man?"
yeah. And then I'll do.
But it said, "I dare you to taste a smoother bourbon," and
I do think it's smooth.
It is definitely smooth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is definitely
It's
smooth.
not my favorite flavor profile though. It's a little
No.
sweet.
What it says here on the bottle is a blend of five straight bourbon whiskeys created with over 100 years of whiskey blending experience.
And one really gay rum.
Oh yeah.
Malibu.
Why is the rum always gone? Barrel profiles is 1, our backbone balanced and sweet. 2, green, leafy, and floral. 3, soft spices, hints of nutmeg. 4, buttery toffee. And 5, cinnamon licorice. We have been blending award-winning whiskey for generations. Now we're going all in on bourbon, sourcing and blending 5 straight whiskeys to create a big, balanced bourbon that stands apart from everything else. Boy, it sounds like a cereal in a bottle.
It also has a lot of words on the back, like a shampoo bottle. What's with that?
I like that though. I like to be able to read my products. Like I like there to be something. I will read the back of something, and if there's not enough to it, like I'm disappointed.
I'll just flip it over and then flip it over again and
Dude,
start
I
over.
literally
Yeah.
do that.
Soap.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not taking this.
I must say that you can definitely smell the butteriness of it.
Popcorn.
Um,
Oh, Orville Redenbacher.
but I wouldn't say that it has a buttery mouthfeel though. Like I've definitely
No.
had some whiskeys where like it almost kind of coated the mouth, and it's like it's very satisfying.
Really? Okay.
Mhm. You know, it's a good thing.
I'll be like,
Usually ones that are less what's the word I'm thinking of? Less filtered.
oh.
You'll kind of get more of like the natural oils and stuff in it.
Good
That's what
old malt.
that's what I've heard. I don't know. I don't distill whiskey, but I've actually had this before. Dan bought it for us to try, and I've actually had it before. It's cool. It's got a cool label. It's got a hand on it with like palm reading, palmistry.
Palmistry?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very
it's different.
yeah, it's a very modern like
Also,
label.
I think it's distilled in New Jersey. Check the back of it. I'm pretty sure it's from Jersey, which is known for their bourbons.
Edison, New
Montpierre.
Jersey.
Oh.
Where is it?
Edison.
Edison, Jersey.
Ah,
Edison,
yes.
Jersey.
Jersey.
Mhm. Named after the Edison phone company.
Yes.
Well, who invented that?
We don't know.
No one, yep, hard to say.
Phone.
Yep.
Oh, it was phone.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Phone. That's who.
I was wondering about that.
Telly Savalas. Who loves you, baby? Everybody? No? No
No.
Kojak fans in the audience?
No, didn't get it.
Nobody watching 1970s television?
I've gotten to the point where when you make random references to obscure things, I just laugh because I know that you know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
but
you're
nobody
like,
else
this is
does.
probably funny.
It's
That's a
probably
funny
funny.
name. Telly Savalas? Yeah, that's a funny. Sounds like an Israeli, which he was.
Yeah, it's a funny name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Should be good. Okay, here's my fish
We-
water story.
Okay, can't wait.
Yep. So
Which also ties into Dahmer, but continue.
exactly. Yeah, that's true.
It does.
So I was raising tadpoles in a jar.
No, you weren't.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yeah. What? No,
Where did you hide that?
Okay, so I am a zero water fan, right? Like it's just a type of water filter. I bought one a long time ago, and it comes with a little like parts per million tester,
Okay.
and so you can like, and it gets like fluoride out, it gets everything out, right?
Yeah, fuck fluoride.
Yeah, turning the frogs, yay. So
It's a gay bomb, baby.
yeah, it's a gay bomb. So I've got the one, and I'm a room temperature water guy because I read once that in India they drink warm water.
Okay.
Is that because there's no refrigerators?
I do tend to drink if somebody says you want cold water or room temp, I usually, unless I'm hot, will pick
Mhm.
room temp because it goes down smoother.
Yeah, I do the same thing with snow cones. Just goes down smoother.
It's
just
less on
watery
your teeth.
syrup.
Less on your teeth.
Just give me straight syrup. Yeah, it's all about energy. Got a marathon to run. So I had the large. I don't know if it's 23 cup or I think it's like 23 cups, and so it's a sizable.
It's a random
container.
measurement.
Yeah, they have a 20, a 23, a 40, and like a 70 or something.
And they measure it in cups?
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Okay.
And I think just because it's like a consumer size, you know,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like they also sell pitchers, and so they probably do all those in cups, and so it's probably uniform just so that you're not like, oh, this is 6 cups, but this is 5 gallons. That's less,
Right,
you know, or
right,
whatever.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, there's one person out
Yeah.
there who was like, "Oh, it's actually like 70 and a quarter."
Well, yeah, sure. You know, if you plane out the inside of it to like a razor thin potato chip, waif size wall,
You could actually get the 74.
yeah. So here's the thing: zero water apparently is capable of growing bacteria.
All right.
Oh,
I did not know that because I was like, there's zero in it. It's got hydrogen and oxygen. Those are both cleaning agents. You make bombs out of them. Why would
That'd probably be pretty clean.
I mean, since when has
I
anything
think a
grown
hydrogen.
in water?
Yeah, a hydrogen bomb would really.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, my water bottle has not been cleaned in a while, and I do think about that.
Yeah, it's so here's how it played out. You know, this whole COVID thing, turns out it was just my water.
oh,
Yeah.
Fuck.
Steve,
Yeah, I was giving water to people that was tainted.
dude.
Yeah, so you guys, you're probably very ill, I would assume.
I definitely feel weird after drinking this water.
Don't worry, that's full of bleach.
Oh, okay.
I fixed it. I've
Sweet, I'm
bleached
gonna
it.
pee clean now.
Okay, and my girlfriend just got here. The way I discovered this was I went to go take a sip of the water I gave her,
Mm-hmm.
and it smelled like shrimp.
Oh, that's a sad.
So to
thing.
have algae in it?
I think so. Yeah, because that's what people were saying online. You know, because I was like, "What stuff grows in water?" They're like,
It-
"Yeah, I guess."
Yeah, I guess it
So-
totally does.
Yeah. So basically, people are like, "Oh, you need to clean it out every 2 weeks or whatever." I'm like, it's like maybe every
Sounds
6
like a lot of work.
months.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
I
I-
probably haven't cleaned out my water bottle in a month, and like I'm scared every time I drink out of it, but it still
Mhm.
tastes fine.
hmm no,
Like,
you'll know.
it's
It'll
just
taste like shrimp.
It's just a process, and I don't want to do it. Plus, I was trying to avoid this, but I had a hard time avoiding it. It has one of those handles that's hollow,
hmm
like it's like a jug with a hollow handle. It's like, how do you clean that?
Yeah. Yep. That's
I
one of
bought-
my problem with all those bottles that people have, the Contigos and all
Pipe
those other
cleaner.
ones.
And so I actually bought a kit, a bottle cleaning kit, but still, I feel like even what comes with it, which is like has some like smaller ones, I feel like it's still not going to quite do the job. But
Mhm.
if I die from my water bottle, it was meant to be.
Yeah,
Eh,
It's kind of how I feel about it.
it's true.
shout out to the Maltese Falcon, by the way.
Yeah.
And who else is? Who else is
Steve
here?
S says hi, and so does Kat.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hey, Cat and Steve S.
Margot just got back, just landed. She's been on a plane all day, so
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, she's special operations.
mhm.
yeah, she got that
Been in the
plane
Ukraine.
money.
Yeah. All right. So, do we want to get down to business?
Yeah,
Are
let's
Yeah,
get
so
down to
matters
business.
taken out
speaking
of the way?
of fish water,
Mm-hmm. So, through the there's on Netflix, if you're aware, there's something that's called Monster. The Jeffrey Dahmer story. That's the newest incarnation of the
I thought it was
Jeffrey
just
Dahmer.
called Dahmer.
No, Roma. What it is it's called Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. But the Jeffrey Dahmer story is so small that they just put they put Dahmer over the top of it to get your
Okay.
eyes to. That's what I was wondering too. So I was like, so it's called Dahmer, subtext Monster.
I actually just saw today because if I fall asleep watching Netflix, then it'll once the whatever I'm watching like stops for whatever reason, it'll start playing like the commercials, like the previews,
Mhm.
like oh. And there's a Jeffrey Dahmer tapes. Like they
Yeah.
had the Ted Bundy tapes, so now they have Jeffrey Dahmer tapes. So I'm gonna watch that too.
They also have the Gacy tapes now too.
I watched that.
I saw
That's
that.
fucked up.
Yeah.
He was a whole nother animal.
Well, and actually part of this, aside from the short attention spans being better, argument that I also have an argument that Jeffrey Dahmer is the best serial killer.
You think so?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
I think he's
think-
absolutely the best serial killer.
I definitely think that. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you because he was so multifaceted. You know, he had the gay thing going on. He had the cannibalism thing going on.
Mhm.
You know, just
High end.
Decent housekeeper.
Yeah.
well, you know, he's taking body parts apart, and like it was good. It was
He I think he's got the most kind of complexity to him, I think.
Sure.
Like the most duality.
plus he was so
to him.
young.
Yeah. And actually we'll talk about a lot of this stuff I think will come up as we go along. And so one thing, the guy that plays him, Evan Peters, and honestly I don't know what else he's been in. I'm
But
sure
god damn, he looks like Dahmer in this.
he looks like Dahmer, and he's amazing. He is literally amazing. I'm blown away by that guy. The I guess it's just the way that he carries himself in such a, a calculating, dangerous, vulnerable, sensitive, like he's got all aspects of it, and he makes a total picture of the person. Because I mean, of all the people to make, to feel sorry for, it's pretty tough to feel sorry for somebody who drugs people, murders them, and eats them.
Yes.
It's just kind of hard to find them.
That's a very good point. You know, it's hard to actually feel kind of even remotely bad for.
But with him, I did. I
mean,
felt like, wow, this is bad. You know,
you can see. I mean, the way that they play out the story, you can see how it evolved. I mean, obviously something was wrong with him. Well, his dad said that he thought it was because of what he had. He had a
hernia surgery.
Hernia surgery when he was like 4.
Yeah.
And then he said he was never the same again. But like there was just so many things leading up to it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse, but it definitely like it paints a picture, and you can see how like neglected he was and just vulnerable.
And he and speaking of neglected, I had my pair of Jeffrey Dahmer glasses on order, and they just Amazon just said, sorry, we're not sending these to you.
Oh.
Yeah, like that's the first time they've ever done that to me.
Speaking of glasses, and I was watching this with my boyfriend, unbeknownst that we were supposed to be watching this. And, I said to him, his first mistake was buying those serial killer glasses.
Yeah.
He made those serial killer glasses.
That was his first mistake. They all wore them, though.
Yeah.
Kat says that she agrees. She goes, I know, what'd she say? Know who I think is overrated and boring as fuck? Bundy.
Hell yeah. Totally agree. Because he was so pompous and just, I mean, he just liked to rape bitches, and he just happened to kill them.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You know, like, honestly, you're nothing special. Honestly, he wasn't as intelligent as he thought he was.
No.
Sure, he got away with some things in the 70s. You could walk out of a prison in the fucking 70s.
He escaped twice.
Yeah.
He was wily. That's about the only thing that he had going for him.
Yeah.
Was that when it actually came to whether or not he stayed incarcerated, he was wily. And I have to say this about Dahmer is that between the two, he at least didn't hide the fact that he did it.
Yeah.
Like he didn't hide it. He was like, well,
I mean, he did get kind of caught,
Yeah,
pretty red-handed, but yeah.
But I mean, like as soon as the cops like sat him down and gave him a pack of smokes.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, Kat said that he's been in all the American Horror Stories, and that's yes, I heard that he's been in American Horror Stories, and she said that he's fantastic every time. Steve says that he's got a lot of flack for looking and acting too much like Dahmer.
Yeah,
but that's part of the deal, though.
Well, I mean, he's an actor. That's his job.
But and even when there was a scene, I think it was in the 4th episode or something, when he was actually like caught. Spoiler alert. And the way he's standing there, and it's kind of like hunched and awkward, but like, looks strong and looks like Dahmer. He is his body composure is like Dahmer, because you see, obviously we've all seen Dahmer in and out of the courtroom and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I'm so impressed with the actor. Just super impressed.
Well, it's interesting because we started watching it, and I've heard a bunch of people, especially at work and stuff, been talking about it, and So we started watching it, and my boyfriend looks up Dahmer, and I watch and I listen to a lot of like true crime stuff. Not a lot, but I have I'm interested in it, but I'm not like a true crime like fan. I'm
Mhm.
not like hardcore about it. But
Mhm.
so I know some backstory on Dahmer, but he looks it up and he goes, "Holy crap, he looks a lot like
Mhm.
Dahmer." And if you look at Dahmer's like mugshots
Yeah.
versus this guy as an actor, like it's dead on.
I would also argue that Dahmer is the best looking serial killer.
Not
Honestly,
Ted Bundy.
it's not Ted Bundy.
And everybody talks about how handsome Ted Bundy was.
Yeah.
And I think he was probably attractive.
Sure.
First of all, I think he was probably less so attractive, more so, what's the word I'm thinking of? He was charming. I
Okay,
think he was
yeah.
charming.
Yeah,
And I think
Dahmer's
that made
not charming.
I think he
Yeah.
made himself look more attractive by being charming. But everybody's like, oh, Ted Bundy was so attractive. And it's like physically not so much. I mean, he was very average looking. He wasn't
Yeah.
ugly,
I
but he
mean,
wasn't.
Bundy looks like a male Caitlyn Jenner. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
That was good.
Thanks. But no, I would agree that I think Dahmer is the best looking of at least the really famous serial killers. I mean, I'm sure there was some swarthy Italian or something that is very good looking, but yeah, so far I love it. I think that it's exactly as violent as it needs to be. It's exactly as I guess like dark and it's I don't know. It seems like they're getting so good at these things because this kicks the shit out of Bundy.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So I never saw the Bundy movie.
Mhm.
The
The
but
Netflix one? No.
The one
Was
with
it-
Zac Efron.
I never saw that one. I did see the Bundy tapes, which was really, it's interesting. Cass says that Bundy was nasty, even for his time. Don't start, LOL.
I mean, because there's that one of him looking all crazy, like at the camera, and he's got a unibrow and
Well,
shit.
and it's interesting too because, if you watch the documentary for Bundy, he was, in his 20s or something. He looked like he was 40.
Yeah.
But kind of everybody did that back then.
Yeah.
I mean, just harder lives. I don't know what it was. Bad cameras. I don't know.
Sex with dead bodies in the woods. Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
Whatever it is.
I mean, sex with dead bodies is pretty hardcore, though. I will give him that.
Mhm.
Like, if you rape somebody and then kill them to get rid of the evidence, like
Mhm.
that seems pretty. If you do it repeatedly, then obviously there's an issue. But like that seems like somebody could naturally go to that next level. Like, oh shit, I fucked up. I had to get rid of this.
Yeah.
This witness. But if you're going back to the crime scene and fucking dead bodies, like that's serial killer shit. That's not. So I mean, so for people that want to like give Ted Bundy a, say like, oh, he's a vanilla, like, nah, like he was fucking dead skulls and stuff. That's fucked up.
No, he was very, I mean, look, he's a serial killer. Absolutely. But for my money, Dahmer all day long.
Yeah.
So, here are some of my things for why Dahmer's the best serial killer. So first of all, he's a cannibal. That's about as hardcore as it gets.
You can't get any more.
Not only are you dismembering whatever this is, you're eating it.
Yes.
You're cleaning it up. You're
And-
making sure that it's always with you.
All about
It's
clean
always
eating.
with you.
Yeah. Well, and I think that being a cannibal is, it's the ultimate taboo.
Yeah.
Like there's
It really
no.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pretty much do anything aside from cannibalism and at least have some sort of sympathy from somebody.
I was going to say there's certain sects of society that would have some sort of sympathy. Pretty much anything you
for
did.
a rapist or a child predator or something. These terrible things you are.
Yes. Somebody's going to
Or-
be like, well,
or if you say retard or something like that, some of the most terrible things you could do.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, eating the corpse of somebody you just killed. I mean, like outside of like starvation and war,
Yeah.
there's no excuse for it.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's hard to find one, right? The second one is gay. And look, this was look how difficult of a time it was to be gay. Half of the guys he was attracted to wanted to punch him in the face.
Yeah. Well, you know what else is interesting is there was even situations where the cops were involved, and I think they were so weirded out by the fact that
Yes.
he was gay. They're just like, we're wiping our hands of it. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, you're gay. No, totally. Like, that's cool. Like, they didn't want to. And I thought about it actually. So there's that one scene where the kid that he's with escapes, but is like fucked up because he drilled a hole in his head. And actually, so they don't necessarily address it in the movie. They slightly do.
Mhm.
But I was listening to a podcast that had done some research on it. And one of his favorite, so he had been experimenting with ways to kind of create zombies.
Yeah.
And his favorite technique ended up being boiling water
Mhm.
because it kept them alive, but it like just fried their brain.
Yeah.
So like trepanning and then actually like pouring boiling water onto their brain.
So he would drill a hole and inject boiling water into their head is my understanding of it.
Mhm.
Oh,
And some of the experiments he would put acid. In.
He did acid, but he liked boiling water better than
Mhm.
acid.
Mhm.
And so this kid escapes. He's out on the streets. Some of the neighbors call on him. And when the cops find him, he says, oh, it's my boyfriend. And he's of age. And they were just like, oh, yeah, no, it's cool. Like, they're gay. It's fine. But I was thinking about it. I was like, in today's society, like if you watch a modern episode of Cops, they're like, we don't give a fuck what you are. You can be gay, trans, like
Yeah, we are not
streetwalker.
gonna arrest you.
No, they're like, if there's a crime happening, like we are thwarting it, but you watch this and they're like, gay. Oh, no, like that's fine.
Well, and it was
none
funny.
of our business.
So in one of the episodes, the cops, it was that scene. The cops, I think it was that scene. The cops show up at the door and they're like, before they went in his apartment, they're like, because he's like, oh sure, you can come in, and they're like, wait, you don't have anything weird in here, do you?
Yeah.
And he's like,
Just some gay stuff.
Just-
no, he's like,
gay stuff.
what? You mean like gay stuff?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, like gay stuff. We're
Yeah.
not gonna catch AIDS, are we?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And that was another thing is this was during AIDS.
running rampant.
Yeah, I mean, well, or at least like towards the tail end, or the beginning of AIDS.
I was going to say the
tail end
beginning
of
of,
his.
because I think this was probably like, what, late 70s?
Late
It
70s
was-
into 80s.
It was mid to late 80s.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
At one of them, I remember it saying 1987, and I think he was like just out of school or something right around
Okay.
that time.
Okay. I thought it was late
Um,
70s, but okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Because I think he died when he was like, was he still in his 20s?
I don't know that he died. I think he was murdered in prison.
Well, I mean, that's a
No,
death.
he would have been 30 something
Yeah,
because he was
30-something.
born in 1960.
Okay. Oh yeah.
okay.
So and he was arrested in 91.
Yeah, so mid 80s would have been about his high school years.
Mhm. Yeah, so he's gay. He's blonde. Not a lot of blondes, like in
No.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. Also, he's an alcoholic.
Oh, aggressively so.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I
know?
thought was interesting too. And I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how he specifically drank in order to do these things.
Yeah.
I
I think he had the urges, but he couldn't get himself to do it
right,
unless he was drunk.
right. That liquid courage.
It was always he would make sure that they had a drink and he had a drink himself.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because it lowers their inhibitions. But he would
And he'd
usually
put pills in
spike.
them.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say he usually spiked those drinks as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you're watching it, and granted, I'm only like about 4 episodes in, that's a big. He always tries to get people with alcohol. Like, oh, come have a drink with me. Come back with me, have a drink.
Mhm.
I'll buy you alcohol. Here's some alcohol.
So,
and then
so okay, we'll go back to my place and have a beer.
Yeah. And that's another thing. So his voice is very good in it. His like the way his just
Very
everything
Midwestern.
about it.
He had the Midwestern down.
And it almost has a Johnny Depp sort of
there's a couple times I felt like he really went to the Napoleon Dynamite thing.
Yes.
Mhm.
Actually, those were the two, and I couldn't remember what my other one that
Yep.
I thought it was, because he's like, oh,
Yeah.
and like,
Yep.
and you're like, that's very Napoleon Dynamite. But when he's just talking, he's, you should probably, it's like that Fear and Loathing in Las
Yeah.
Vegas almost. Like, I don't know if Johnny Depp's from the Midwest, but I think he's used that.
Well, and I also feel like they were kind of trying to portray that he had some type of either like he was on the spectrum or he
Oh,
had
for
brain
sure.
damage. Like there's something going on there. And
Mhm.
so, he kind of had a little bit of slurred speech. It was a little bit of,
Well, and
mumbling.
I think a lot of that is social anxiety, I think.
For sure.
You know?
Very, very much so.
100%.
Definitely on the
so.
spectrum somewhere, you know.
And you know what's
Not
funny
that
is
those people are violent, but, you know.
no, I mean, anybody can be violent for sure. And if you are on the spectrum, and depending on your level of it, if you tend towards violence, your understanding of what's appropriate and not is definitely negated.
Sure.
So, you know, and I've known people that have like worked with people that have disabilities or whatever it is that you want to call it.
Mhm.
And they can definitely, if they're scared,
We call
if
those
they're angry,
goofballs, Roma.
if they're scared, if they're angry, I mean, they'll go to violence really fast, and they
Mhm.
don't have the wherewithal to know their strength,
Mhm.
whether or not it's appropriate. You know, so it
Yes.
can be scary.
And actually, that definitely comes up. Okay, so in the story, you know, they do follow a lot of it, and you know, I think we're, you know, a lot of us are, and a lot of our audience are probably fans of serial killers, and so you know a certain amount about them. But it's really cool to see it established in a way that's like a story, and they're actually telling it, and it's actually believable. You know, kind of just starting in the scenes with in the gay bar. With the three black dudes, Don, Terry, and Aaron.
Yes.
First of all, if you're black and your name is either Don, Terry, or Aaron,
You're
2
gay.
out of 3 of you are gay. and the straight one is Don. I'll give you that one right now.
He's just looking for those lady friends who are coming out with the gay pals.
Yep.
We used to call them fag hags.
Fag hags.
You know,
yeah.
I could see that. I could see that. Which did you want, Roma? We've got a selection.
I mean, we can still go with the fistful.
Okay. Fistful it is.
So you know, they're messing with him, and they're like, "Oh, are you gonna just buy us drinks and not shoot your shot?" You know. And
Yeah.
then, you know, the line that he says is,
Yeah, you talked to us last week. You bought me a drink last week.
Yeah,
And you still not gonna do anything, Queen?
buying PBRs. And
Yeah, they
stuff.
call him Queen. That's awesome.
Yeah, I could, you know, I buy you a PBR.
Yeah, and so what his line was, "Tonight I'm a man of action." And I was like, it's like, that was kind of cringe, but I mean, I'm sure it was supposed to be.
You know, in a gay bar in the 80s, cringe hadn't quite been established yet completely, I think.
Well, and it's just funny. They show him dancing. The two guys are laughing at him, and I just really find it interesting how he got away with the smells in his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
He did, but he didn't.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of the reasons he was taken down. You know, that's the hardest part, I think, to
Hide.
Yeah. And
Well-
it followed him through his life, really.
Well, and Gacy had those issues too.
Mhm.
He actually had cops come into his place and are like, "What the fuck is the?" He
Mhm.
kicked on, and it smelled like sweet rotting smell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they actually talked about that too. And in the 4th episode, where he's there's the old kind of veteran white cop, and then kind of the slightly younger black cop, and the black cop's like, "Man, you know, that's a hate crime," you know, and like all that. He's like all social justice-y and shit. But one of the things was he's like, "Smell like rotten meat in there." He's like, you know, most of or he's like human beings have an aversion to that for a reason. And then Dahmer's like, "Most of us."
It's really, yeah.
I didn't get to that point in the show. I didn't know
Spoilers.
that I had a homework assignment, but
Mm-hmm.
You do now.
But it's like, how many pork chops can you accidentally spoil? That was the excuse every time. And then
I really
the
like
fish,
pork chops.
Yeah.
He said that twice. He's like, "I really like pork chops."
Oh, my refrigerator broke, and my family, you know, I like pork
Small
chops.
freezer there.
So they, it's just bad meat. I just need to throw it out.
Well, and then when the neighbor was like, "You said that last week," he was like, "Oh, my fish tank went bad.
Mhm.
They had some kind of
Ick.
Yeah.
ick. That's
Yeah,
what they
it's
called
ick.
it. Ick.
Yep.
Yeah, they caught ick, and I just need to clean it out." And
Mhm.
she's like,
I'll
she
get
was
to
having
this
none of it.
weekend. Yeah.
She was having none of it, and she was awesome. And they actually,
That was Niecy Nice from Reno 911.
Really?
Yes.
that played it. That
Mhm.
played. Okay. Well, it was cool because they actually played actual audio from police calls,
Mhm.
and she was on it. And she's like, when the cops were telling her, or when the cops were saying like, "Oh, we took care of that kid," and she's like, or that guy that was his boyfriend, she's like, "I think it was a child." And they're like, "It's fine, ma'am, it's fine." And she was not given up on it until
Mhm.
finally she was like, all right, like, what else is she going to do?
Yeah.
He said he was of age and that it was his boyfriend.
And it's the 1970s. We don't know.
Did you check his ID, ma'am? He said he was of age.
We
and,
took care of it.
And I think we're talking about the 14-year-old Asian boy.
Mhm.
right.
That he had
but-
also was a predator towards his brother.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the 14-year-old, I remember when they were standing outside of the convenience store, and he goes in and gets him the liquor and lures him, back with it.
Boone's Farm.
Yeah. Oh, Boone's Farm. Yeah.
Is that a thing? Is that still a thing?
Boone's Farm, yeah.
Margot told me about Boone's Farm.
Really?
Yeah, they used to drink that when they were young.
All right, we should get some.
I don't think it's good.
It's probably like Mad Dog.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And I remember looking at that young guy in the light or whatever, and like he like smiled and he all had like crow's feet and shit. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this guy's not 14, but.
It's just
of course he's
striking
an
out.
actor
Well, and
playing
I
a
think he was
14-year-old.
well, and I think he was like Asian or was like some
Native
type of like
American, I think.
It was
Pacific
Asian.
Islander.
In the true story is
he's
he was an
Asian.
Asian
That's
boy,
what I
yeah.
thought
Mhm.
too. And like it can be hard to tell their age.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's my question. Are gay men less afraid than straight women when they go out at night?
That's a good one.
That's a good question.
So I think they're probably afraid because they feel like they could be targeted, but I feel like they might be less afraid because they're men and can defend themselves a little bit better.
Yeah. And especially against another gay man if it's just like a bitch fight sort of thing. But
Yeah,
if it's a Dahmer,
that's a really good. And Dahmer wasn't overly alpha or masculine. He did work out and he
Mhm.
became very fit.
sure.
But he did not come across as overly dominant, and so like that wasn't. He was so awkward. I feel like he wouldn't be that scary unless he had a knife held to you, which he did obviously in the show. I mean, as a woman, you're always on guard. As a gay man, I feel like probably depending on where you are,
Mhm.
you're lesser so.
Sure. I'm sure certain environments you are,
100%.
but probably not a gay bar.
I think environmental is a total situation. And by the way, I feel that and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but both gay men and straight women are safe in a gay bar.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say that they would both be there for that reason, really.
So Mal says she thinks that they're probably more afraid.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've never been a gay man, so I can't say for sure. But
Mhm.
I feel like if I was a gay man, I would be afraid of being victimized because I was gay, but I would also have some sense, depending on my build, of security and knowing that I was a man.
Yeah. So it'd be basically the same.
And Kat says that she agrees with me.
So I think it's the same vulnerabilities of a woman as far as like predators,
Correct.
but less afraid because of strength, because
Now-
you have more strength.
To be fair,
Physically.
like a gay man will have haters straight up. And like women have haters for
Mhm.
sure. There are definitely men out there.
Roma, are haters gonna hate?
Haters are going to hate. But there are definitely women out there that will be targeted because there are men that hate women. There's women that hate women, but I think we're talking about male predators, So you'll be targeted because you're a woman and or gay.
Mhm.
But being a man, physically a man, I feel like, and I know there's no difference between a man and a woman. We all know this.
Right, Roma.
But I feel like growing up a
Bigotry.
man, and
Oh no, but growing up told you're a man, Roma.
told you're a
Right,
man.
Dan?
Yeah,
There
depending
is
on your
the-
stature, you might feel a little more secure in the situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, I feel like gay males tend to rove in packs maybe a bit more than women. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of a loner, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
I don't know. I'm not a gay
Mhm.
man. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've hung out with a lot of gay men. I've had a lot of gay male friends,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them have been really petite, and I don't think they would have any better of an advantage than I would.
Yeah,
Until they bust out the kung fu.
it's true.
But it was kung fu fighting.
See, they learned from the song.
Okay. So these three gay black guys, one of them, naturally ends up going home with Dahmer, right? And so you get invited into Dahmer's apartment. pretty nice.
Yeah.
You know, you don't you
Except for it's not, but continue.
yeah, you're somewhere outside of like
He went there
Cleveland.
for photos.
Yes.
And
oh yeah,
he went there for photos. He was
$50 bucks
$50 for photos
plus
and-
a PBR.
plus a PBR
Oh, yeah,
and
can't forget
sex.
that
I mean,
PBR.
most in that situation, if you're in a gay bar, you're probably prowling for sex.
Yeah. Straight sex, but I'll take what I can get. Okay, so you walk in there, and the first thing that hits you is the smell.
Yeah. Every single person walked in and was like,
And he says, "I really like pork chops.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was the second time he used the
I
pork
really
chop
like pork
tail.
chops, and my freezer died and it rotted, and that's why."
Yeah, and people are like, "Oh, what's that smell?" And
oh, it's okay.
Ooh.
Don't worry. I'll turn on the air conditioner.
yes, exactly. Yes. Oh, is it? You smell something?
Yeah, he's gonna turn on the AC. I'm like, I don't know if that would
Yeah.
help.
Yep.
Might be
So-
the rotting body in the corner, but continue.
We call it a Roddy.
Roddy body.
Rotty body.
Okay. The other thing that when you're going up to his apartment, the nosy neighbor,
Oh, yeah.
Lady?
Super nosy.
she's always Jeffrey, whatever.
What you got going
Yeah.
on there,
Which
baby?
I would like to say, as far as his name goes. So what's interesting is he always went by Jeff, and everybody always called him Jeff. But
Mhm.
once he got into the media, for whatever reason,
It
they
was-
called him Jeffrey.
yeah, it was
Mhm.
Jeffrey.
And he became Jeffrey Dahmer. But if you watch the show, he's always called Jeff, and he always went by Jeff, and everybody called him Jeff.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
Definitely Jeffrey Dahmer sounds better. It sounds more.
Well, it sounds more
media
innocent.
friendly.
It sounds more innocent, I think.
It's
I
I
think
don't
it
know.
does.
I think Jeff Dahmer, Jeff Dahmer just sounds like some guy. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh yeah, that's Jeff
sounds
Dahmer.
like-
Jeff Dahmer over there.
Jeffrey
Yeah.
Dahmer is probably a little bit more memorable because how many people do you know that call themselves Jeffrey?
Yeah. I mean, there was the guy, the butler on Fresh Prince.
Well, and think about like John Wayne Gacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's
why
a
Wayne?
mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, they don't want, if you're just John Gacy, there's probably
how many John
10,000 of
Gacy's
them out
are
there.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if
I'm
he
sure
went.
the John Gacy's were like, could you just throw a middle name in, please? I've got a family.
Well, it says
Please.
John Wayne. Nope, Gacy.
Mhm.
So funny story. My boyfriend and his brother, and they're the only two children.
They're both named Ted.
They have. They're both named Gacy,
Mhm.
and so they have serial killer names. Not on purpose. It's just the way it happened. So they're
Like they just sound like they could be, or they actually
no,
are.
like so very
Okay.
famous serial killers. They have the first name of
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
first name, not last name, but first name.
Yeah.
So one day, so their mother one day takes them to, I think it was McDonald's,
Mhm.
and brings them up to the line, and they're ordering cheeseburgers or whatever, and the the lady at the counter goes, "Oh, your sons are so cute. Like, what's their names?" And she proceeds to tell their names, and she goes, "Oh, like the serial killers." And their mother was just like mortified.
Hmm.
Absolutely mortified. Like, how could you take like a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and like put a serial killer like stamp mark on them,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Okay. So this was, according to your story, this was a lady who pointed this out.
it was a girl, yeah.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. Anyways, it's just really funny because she called her out, and this wasn't they weren't named for this reason. I don't know what the reasons were that they were named at their name, but it was just really it's funny. I
Yeah.
thought it was funny.
Well, and that was right around the time of serial killers. That was
Well, and
just
that's
a few decades ago. So
so it's like
it was brand new.
80s, 90s.
she's very progressive. Getting into the
Mhm.
pop culture stuff.
Guess it would have to be 90s. 90s.
The bloody drill on the table.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's kind of rough.
I'm glad that was there because the cops saw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
when the cops
ignored
busted him, I was so they didn't though because they walked in, they saw it, and they saw the bloodstains on the mattress,
Mhm.
and they smelt the smell,
Mhm.
and they found the pictures.
Yeah, it wasn't until they found the pictures that they actually thought, something's a little funny over here.
yeah, you guys are getting ahead of the tail though.
Sorry,
All
sorry,
right,
No, that's
all
sorry,
right,
sorry,
all
sorry.
right.
That's like right at the beginning.
Well, So I mean, well, they tell it kind of backwards, yeah.
They do tell it kind of backwards.
We're still talking about right now the Satanic Bible.
Oh, see, so when I watched it, they showed it briefly, but never addressed it again.
No, well,
Wait,
they do in a later episode. Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't get into
There was a Satanic Bible on the table when the guy was in the apartment.
Really?
And that's why I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, I've got to start jotting these things down. I'm like, because this shit is fucked. Like, who wouldn't leave at this point? You know, like.
So I've read and owned the Satanic Bible. I don't know that I still have it. I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't think I still have it.
Yeah, I gave it to some kids or something.
Yeah, something.
Happy Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm frozen.
So
I can't help it. You look like you're passing out in your picture there.
So Dan, you're still in on the Satanic Bible? You're not leaving yet? You're gonna stay for gay sex?
I mean, if gay sex is on the table too.
Yeah. There's a Satanic Bible and gay sex and a bloody drill.
And the bloody drill. Well, is it crusted or is it dripping?
It was dripping into a small syrup.
All right.
spot.
Well, if it's fresh,
It looked like Robitussin. I think it was Robitussin.
I'll stay if it's fresh.
And then
Because he promised pictures.
you do get served a drink. It tastes like fingers and drugs.
Oh well.
Is that bad?
Well, if it tastes like fingers, at least I know what I'm getting into, or what's getting into me.
Yeah, and it always drives me crazy because everybody talks about like everybody acts like everybody's date raping each other, but why can't you get a drug to mix in with a drink? Like it seems like that's the biggest problem with any of these things is like none of these drugs actually mix with drinks. So how does anyone ever get date raped?
That's a good question. Like really, like how does
Well, and so when he had the one guy over, the 14-year-old, he gave him the drink and he's like, this tastes weird.
Yeah. But you can get a 14-year-old to drink anything.
That is true.
And that's
100%.
why
I've been
you pick
14.
them up.
Yeah, as long as they're telling you it's for a good time.
Yeah.
Well, and he's offering him money too.
Yeah, because he said,
My family needs it.
yeah, and that was the thing. He's like, so if you know what happened to your brother, then why are you still here? He's like, well, my family needs the money.
Yeah.
Well, and
and you
and
said you were
also-
paying $100 in the 80s,
plus gay sex, drinks, and Satanic Bible.
right? And a drill. Don't forget the drill.
And then my last thing was just somebody who's a fish person.
Yeah, you can't really trust that.
I mean,
Although I'm going to admit right here, right now, I have a friend at my work and it's a fish named Cheeto.
Cheeto.
Yes.
Cheeto.
Mm.
And we're like this. We're besties. So like I'll go up to the floor with Cheetos on.
BFFs, best fish friends.
Dude, I'll go up to the floor with Cheetos on and I'll I walk up and Cheeto freaking right up to the front and then I don't tap because that's kind of dick. So like I'll kind of scratch on it. Like I was scratching his head because he'll come for, it's a she, but like he's better. So like he'll come and like push his forehead against the thing and I'll kind of scratch it.
Gender's fluid, Roma, especially in water.
Yeah.
I was also going to say in 2022, a fish can be whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
Right.
Fish
And
can
it's
be
a
dog.
pink fish. So-
Oh,
Sure.
a
Yeah.
pink fish named Cheeto,
Nothing wrong with that.
and
Yeah.
it's not a flaming hot.
It's
flaming hot Cheeto. There you go.
Mhm.
There you go.
Anyways,
Explains a lot.
Cheeto's 13 years old.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
Still
It's crazy.
spry.
So we'll almost drink anything.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Almost legal.
spry little fish.
Mhm. Yeah, a fish person is not as bad as a bird person, but a fish person is saying that they want to have something living in its own shit, and then they're just gonna clean it out every now and then, and that's the entire nature of their relationship.
And
It
about-
just doesn't really make sense to
if
me.
you get a fish, you should probably have one of those like fish sucker things that like clean,
Yeah,
Yep.
but even then, you're making a human centipede basically, but you're
Gross.
just
I
putting
don't even want to think about that.
you're just putting the humans into a big glass box and making them eat shit by force.
I have
Is
to
that
tell you
what
that-
happened in that?
Pretty much.
I'll have to tell you about my terrible dreams stress dreams that I have someday, but I won't do it right now.
Another time.
The human rectum peed. Okay. Jeff's dad. Do we have any votes about Jeff's dad? Any feelings?
I feel like he really did his best.
I think he's a good 1970s dad.
Yeah, 100%.
He really was. He tried.
I think he was a great 1970s dad because he really tried to spend time with Jeff and like catered to his interests. So he saw that he had interests
like
in
being
these things.
straight.
and roadkill.
Right.
Yeah.
The
He was into
roadkill thing.
roadkill.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, Jeff had these interests and he would go out of his way to be like, let's do this. So was his dad a doctor? Is that why he was?
No, I don't know. I actually don't.
I don't think his dad was
remember-
very successful. I don't think he was anything too
Okay, because I thought
special.
I don't
felt
think
like
he had any specific distinction as to what his job was.
I mean, I'm
felt-
sure he had a job at some point.
he was. I kind of got the vibes that maybe he was a surgeon, but that's because he was cutting apart this roadkill. Maybe he was a hunter. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I just felt like he saw what Jeff, because he'd always said like Jeff got weird after the surgery. And then whenever he found something that Jeff was into, he would try to encourage it. And I think that was, I honestly, I think that was really great on his part. He just
Yeah.
didn't know he was encouraging a serial killer, which how would you know? You know, I mean, because there's some guys that would do that kind of thing and become a surgeon, you know,
Yeah.
Well,
or a
and
mortician or whatever.
Or a taxidermist.
Yeah.
it kind of reminded me of Dexter almost.
Yeah,
You know, because Dexter's dad realized, oh, this kid likes hurting animals. I should probably figure out a way to make this into something positive. And him being a police officer ended up, you know, hey, we'll find people that are bad and
Yeah.
you can do bad things to them.
Wait, that's what Dexter's about?
Yeah, Dexter's pretty good
Oh, yeah.
until
You
it's
haven't
not
seen
good.
Dexter?
Dexter's great
Yeah.
until it's not good.
No, I watched the whole thing. I liked
Did you
whole
watch the
thing.
new one? Because they had like a whole new season to actually wrap up the show.
Yeah, I think they did have a new season. I haven't seen it. I
No,
watched almost all of it, and then I just kind of
the
got
one.
I lost interest.
Didn't it wrap up the show that he killed his sister and just drove off into the fucking sunset in his boat?
No, he drove off into a hurricane.
Okay, maybe.
But
oh yeah,
then
and then he
he
showed
ended
up
up-
bearded in
and then he ended
Alaska
up in Alaska
or somewhere. Yeah.
And so I guess the new series takes off with him being in Alaska.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but it's supposed to be like
Yeah.
the final season.
Ice road truckers from Miami.
Wait, what?
You want to see someone not drive well on ice? You just wait. Yeah, so I imagine his dad's name was probably Jeffrey. But his dad was played by Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor.
No, he wasn't.
Well, it was close. No, but the guy, I know what his dad looks like from like previous documentaries and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it didn't really seem like, I mean, people kind of just went, and obviously, look, you have some role in this, but it's just kind of like a guy in the 1970s going, look, I don't know, I didn't know this was the thing he was doing. Like he was a weird kid,
it was truly one of those when the cops interviewed the dad, where he was like, I mean, he kind of seemed a little weird, but
Mhm.
he was always really quiet, and he was generally a good boy. So
Yeah.
I'm
I
kind of
mean, there was a smell.
I'm kind of surprised by
Sure.
this.
Yeah.
Hold
Well-
on. Cass says his son comes back and finds him. It was good until last episode again. I think she's talking about Dexter.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I forgot about the son.
Spoilers, cat.
So, I mean, the 1970s was a not super. I mean, it was right after kind of the civil rights movement, you know, the 60s. But I mean, it was still pretty like segregated, and people just
Oh.
had their
Yeah,
divide.
no, because there was I think even in the first episode, when like the one guy escaped and ran down the road and then came back and brought him to Dahmer's apartment,
Mhm.
and then like they found all the pictures and everything, and they
Mhm.
arrested him. Like they were still like, so do you have any like gang affiliation? You know, any violent crimes? Like, is there something you're not telling us? And he's like, no, man, like,
Yeah.
seriously, this guy just tried to fucking kill me.
Yeah, I've got a bachelor's degree. I work for Neiman Marcus. Yeah, totally. And I don't think that's so much about like the race, the cops going, oh, this person's of the bad race. I think it's those cops work in a shitty place.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
they just go, everybody we
and
talk
and the guy's half naked. You know,
That's
you got to
true.
realize that too.
That's
so he
true.
doesn't have his
He's
shirt
drugged.
on.
He's on
drugged.
drugs. Yeah.
Mhm. And he's like, some guy just tried to kill me. Honestly, I'm shocked that they paid as much attention to him
Yeah,
as
that's
they
true.
did.
That's true.
Because it's like, if you found some gay black guy, which they didn't know at the time, I mean, they knew he was black, but they didn't know he was gay necessarily. Some gay black guy, half naked, running down the street, you'd be like, what the fuck is this guy on?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't take what he said. You know, he's like, oh, somebody's trying to kill me. It's like, well, are you selling crack? Like, what are you doing? You know?
Well, and I think that part of the problem is that, the cops would be like, dude, you're gonna regret talking to us. Like you right now coming at us, we're going to end up arresting you, and then you're gonna, get lost. You know, you're on drugs. You're
better off
half
running
naked,
away.
Go somewhere now. And that's the way I would be as a cop with any race. I'm like, dude, get out of my face.
Yeah.
Because just
this
you're
isn't
next.
gonna end well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And something else that kind of surprised me is when the cops actually went up to his apartment. He was like, "Did you put the handcuffs on this guy?" He was like, "Yeah, his gay stuff."
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
And he's like, "Do you have the keys to these handcuffs?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's inside." Like, "Do you want to come inside?" And then he had that pause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can we come inside? Yeah, he has that pause.
Hold on. I got the keys around here somewhere.
Yep. And that was another great thing about him is how unassuming he was. It's like, and then you had these moments of rage where you're like, oh man, that's a big change. Like here's the guy that everybody picked on now is suddenly a violent,
I'm just gonna say this. Keep watching. I know I'm only like maybe an episode ahead or two from
I'll keep watching, Dan.
From you guys. And I mean, I'm gonna finish the show because we committed to finishing the show. But it gets to an entirely different dynamic in a couple episodes later, like the one I stopped at. It shows an entirely different side to Dahmer himself.
Yeah, because initially you feel sorry for him. I mean, you don't feel sorry for him when he's killing people, but you can tell that he's so socially awkward and that he's had a lot of neglect and possibly abuse.
Yeah.
And obviously he's maybe he's on the spectrum or whatever. And so you're like, oh, this is kind of sad. Like
it was definitely an episode full of the moments of like, dude, like seriously, Jeff, like, come on, man. Like I'm not trying to root for you because I know who you are, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man.
Like he's making you root for him, or he's not making you root for him.
It's just that sentiment, whether you're rooting for one side of the man or the other side of the man, you're still like you root for one or the other.
Sure.
But either way, it's just.
Well,
I mean, up until the point that I've
one.
watched, he's almost an anti-hero, And not that he's an
absolutely.
He's not a hero, but like you feel for him.
He's the most sympathetic character of the whole story, and obviously he should be, I guess. I mean, unless they were going to focus it on one of the victims or his parents or something like that. But
no, his mom was fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, she was
well,
crazy.
and I wonder how much was his mom. So okay,
his
Yes.
mom was nuts under the pretense to just say this real quick. His mom was nuts under the pretense that she was a victim of the drug companies, and that's all I'll say.
It's unfortunate because I feel like it's almost like the 1800s where women were diagnosed as hysterical, and so you have a woman. Women have first of all
funny, Roma.
Well, first of all, women have cycles, right? They have cycles. She's under a lot of stress. She's got 2 kids. She might have postpartum depression. I don't know what that's like. I've never had children. But, and then they're talking about like UFOs. Well, what if she actually did see? I mean, I believe in UFOs, and I don't know that she was handling.
Are you saying you're Jeffrey Dahmer's mom?
I'm not saying that she was handling situations well, but I feel like, and especially for that time period, it could be easy if I feel like she might have been being unintentionally gaslighted. So she's in, and she even says it in the show. She's like, "Oh, you and your father, that's your hobby is to make me feel like I'm crazy."
Yeah. So everyone can call me crazy. And it's just like, all right, lady, you're in a driveway. Just chill.
But if you've had too much, you know what I mean? Like if you're like, A, I'm having issues. I have stress issues. B, I'm having experiences, and she's not expressing it well. But if everybody's telling you, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy.
Yeah, then you have to leave your son for 3 months alone.
You start to act crazy.
And take away his brother.
I nailed her on that one.
And take away his brother.
I don't know. I feel there's a lot of times where I'll watch things and there's definitely been times in my life where like handling hard situations has not been easy and I haven't done it the best. And when you have somebody telling you, well, you're just crazy, it's like, well, am I supposed to act crazy? And it's interesting to watch how her mother's portrayed versus, and his father's very like, oh, kind of like, I'm the best friend. I'm the go with the flow. I like the scene where she's like, you've never once asked me to dissect, animals in the garage. And he's like, well, I thought you'd think it was weird and gross. And she's like, I do, but you never asked me. And it was like,
that's a scene where I'm like, okay, this bitch is crazy.
Was she that crazy? And what drove her to that? Like.
Yeah.
Anyways,
hormones, lack of external genitalia.
But I mean,
hormones, being trapped in a house with kids all the time, probably not being. I'm sure her father,
serial killers.
I'm sure her husband was not the best listener or the best communicator. So like you get into this weird fucking dynamic where you don't have like external. There's no internet. There's nothing. There's nothing for you to. So I kind of feel for her as a character. I feel like she probably had a mental illness and was misunderstood, and it wasn't properly addressed.
Really,
well,
because she was taking up to 20 some pills a day,
which is also
like seriously, like 20 different pills she was taking
a
day.
Back in the day, they would just throw fucking meds at you, and they wouldn't reassess, and it was just
Well, and that's why I said that she was crazy, but she was made that way. I'm not saying that she was inherently crazy, like she was a naturally crazy person.
I think she's.
I think that people can have crazy episodes, but not be crazy people. But if people treat them like they're crazy continuously, they will play that part. So Mal says, main character energy. I would have thrived in the 80s. I always said I'm from a simpler time. And the 80s were awesome. The 80s were awesome. But if you had a mental illness, you might be SOL.
Yeah. It was a bad time.
Well, and I definitely think that there was a lot, pharmacology back then was a lot different. So like you basically had like Quaaludes and like,
you had uppers and downers. Uppers and downers.
Yeah. And they probably just tried to balance you on those because it's like, oh, if we gave you Quaaludes, like it'll take away your depression, but it'll also take away your zest for life. So we'll just give you some amphetamines on top of it.
Which will make you manic as fuck.
We're going to give you some speed to help, give you some pep in your steps.
It'll make you manic and it'll make you, angry and
Okay. Oh, here. So Roman, you bringing up the ex-wife.
The mother.
Did they ever actually get divorced?
I don't care. She was crazy, bitch, crazy. So this is the gayest Netflix show I've ever seen. The hottest chick in it was 60 years old, Mary.
Mary is a mom?
His mom's replacement. Slightly younger than the mom.
Okay.
Oh, are you talking about Molly Ringwald?
Is it? Oh. Her name's Mary in the show.
Is that Molly Ringwald?
Molly Ringwald was
she's not a redhead, I don't think.
No,
well, she was change hair color.
She was a brunette in a wig. Oh, she was a brunette in the show as she was the dad's new side piece that ended up becoming the primary.
Is there only one?
So, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, then that's it. Yep. So she's the hottest she's the hottest woman in the whole show so far. I've not seen an attractive woman except that one. And so I don't know who's removing LGBTQ plus flags off of things, but they should probably count up the amount of gay sex versus heterosexual sex and then just lean whichever direction that is. Because boy, there's a lot of gay sex and I'm fine with it.
There's a lot of gay in that show.
Yeah, and it's fine because it's the proper amount. I mean, when they're like smelling each other's chests and they're all glistening and stuff. I'm just like, ugh.
Well,
but
the 80s was a greasy, sweaty time.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, especially if you have like a stinky apartment with no air conditioning,
Yeah.
Oh,
or you
yeah.
use the air conditioning to lure people.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it is interesting. So they bust him, like sort of, like
No, they bust
finding
him.
those pictures, and and he's just looking through the pictures, and it's just gay pictures, and it's funny because he keeps going, like
Yeah.
with their original aversion to anything gay, like we're not even gonna walk in your apartment, even though we
Right.
think you committed a crime,
Right.
because you're so gay,
If I can keep looking at these gay pictures.
and you're still but you're really straight, like you act straight. And your apartment looks straight,
It
You look
didn't.
like-
It had all those nude men pictures.
Oh, well, I just meant the mess.
Oh,
Like it's not a nice, clean,
Yeah,
gay
Right.
man's apartment.
you got a
it's
point.
a bachelor's apartment.
Very much
Which
so.
probably
it's
goes for-
Milwaukee gay.
I was gonna say gay or straight.
By the way, what was that? It was called Bath, Ohio. I think that's where his family was from or whatever. But Bath, Ohio sure does have a great gay scene. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, no, the 219 Club or the Club
Apparently.
219. Are you kidding me? Like holy cow, that
Yeah.
was hopping like all the time.
But so they arrest him for attempted murder on the dude.
Yeah,
What was it? Don? Was that Don?
I think it
that
was
Don, the straight one. So, arrested for, attempted murder, but they find the heads, the skulls, genitals, dismembered body parts,
Human hearts in the freezer.
dissolving of body parts in the acid, signs of cannibalism. And that was funny too. So it was right after they arrested him, like they like keep you for like 12 hours and like interrogate you like that first time you're arrested.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, from some of the evidence there,
Kitchen utensils.
from some of the stuff on kitchen utensils and all this, they're like we figured out that you're a cannibal. Some of the markings on the bodies and stuff. I was like, how did you guys figure that out so fast? Milwaukee Police Department.
Yeah.
Like, that's such an interesting thing to establish. And here's the other thing: is when those cops are walking into his apartment, they don't have a real frame of reference for what this guy did because there isn't another case of it.
No.
He's the first one, like there are people that have been cannibals. There are people that have been serial killers.
And that's something that I find interesting is that of all the things I ever knew about Jeffrey Dahmer, was that he was a cannibal. Like he was a serial killer and he was a cannibal.
Yep.
Like the whole gay thing fucking threw me for a loop because I had no idea about that. Like really.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, it turns out it's like, oh yeah, all of his victims were gay men.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay. And then that so far, like at least halfway through the show, has been non-existent. Like non-existent as far as like him eating other people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like that he didn't try to eat people when he was a kid. He didn't try to eat people when he was a teenager.
Mhm.
He didn't try to eat people when he was starting to kill them as a young adult.
Yeah,
He just drugged them and killed them.
yeah.
Like, or drugged them and set them free.
The one thing he did do, remember when he? Actually, you know what? It comes up a little later. I'll bring that up.
We're actually getting towards the end of the show.
All right. Well, everybody shut up and let me get through this. Okay. So fish guts. So he's sitting there talking to the officers.
Oh, yeah.
And they had that scene of like digging through the guts and stuff. And then no, it was a psychiatrist. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Because a psychiatrist.
He jerks off to it.
Well, and the psychiatrist was like, do you ever get, and he was just like creepy. He was like a creepy dude, but he's like, you ever get turned on by, people's organs and things? And, yeah, sometimes when and then like he goes off onto this like soliloquy about how shiny organ meat is like sexually arousing and that men find shiny things because they're wet like vaginas and things like that. It's just like, Jesus Christ, Doc, like just get the info. Don't fucking,
Don't lead them.
Yeah, don't.
Right. And that was,
We're listening.
They didn't know what they know now back then. Really, like,
did it get it out of him though? Because I didn't get to that point.
He's very honest. He's very honest about really everything.
And when he was arrested, he was honest.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm just going to tell you.
And that's basically what it is like flashbacks to like, different times. And then, and of course he's telling the story. So I think that's how the story progresses is, yes, he got arrested. And so you have these two parallel, stories going. Of course, one of them ends in the other one, but that's the way it seems to be structured, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely a current versus the past leading up into the current.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like any good, well-written story. One of the things, the high school teacher that gave him a fetal pig to take home.
Oh.
Okay. That was the first fleshlight. Let's all be clear.
Oh.
If that teacher didn't think Jeff was going to fuck that thing.
I don't think he did.
No, see, and that's
because he said I want to practice, and you're like, oh, he's a really dedicated student, right?
Well, and because he's like
20 years, nobody's ever asked me that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that when I went to high school, or I don't even know what I don't think it was high school. I think it might have been like middle school. We never did pigs. I never did a pig. We always did frogs.
Owl pellets. I never actually dissected an animal.
Yeah, I dissected a frog. Yeah.
In college, we did rats. I think we did pigs. We did sheep eyes, something like that. It was fun. They smell like formaldehyde.
They smell like formaldehyde.
Yeah.
It's a very distinctive smell.
They definitely want you to dissect something while you're in school.
I think it's fair. I mean, I could see like being in elementary school or middle school or high school, and you're like, this is fucking creepy. But if you get to like a higher level of education, like
I always loved it.
I didn't love it, but I was like, all right, this is what we were doing.
Is interesting. Is definitely
it's interesting. That's where I was at.
Something. It's just interesting to take something apart.
And for people that are going to go into science or serial
100%.
killing.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. You go to science.
You find your audience. Okay, so the guy who he picked up on the road, Steven, was going to the Pegasus concert.
That's where I ended it. Yeah.
And actually, in episode 4, the police point out that another of his victims was named Steven.
Oh.
Who was also handsome and white.
Oh, yeah.
Like
wow.
me.
Two
had a
Steves.
podcast.
You had a podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. But it's very interesting because that guy Steven, he's like just hitchhiking in his gayest shorts in the world.
Yeah,
no shirt.
No, shirt was tied into the shorts.
Oh, okay.
Shirt
That's
was
nice.
tied into the shorts.
Yeah, and then they're bench pressing and drinking beer together, and he's just literally hanging his nuts in Jeff's face.
Yeah.
And
Jeff's just like all over the place.
up
Like,
inside his ball sack.
because that dude didn't wear fucking tighty whities.
Yeah, and then
He was going to a Pegasus concert.
Yeah.
and then he freaks out, and he's meeting his friends, and then he freaks out when Jeff kisses him.
Yeah.
And this is the one of the biggest things for me was this scene. Did you see this
I
scene?
did. Yep.
Yes. So where there's such rejection, Jeff has to have such courage
Yes.
to kiss this dude.
Correct.
To lure him home, to try to put the moves on him. It's the 1970s. Like I said, every other guy you kiss punches you in the face.
Right.
And the other,
Unless you're at a gay bar.
I mean, even then you might.
Well,
who knows?
he wasn't quite old enough to go to the gay bar yet.
That's true. Yeah.
But the way that he freaked out on him and he dropped the F word on him, he called him a faggot. That was the first time that anybody in the whole show, which I really respected because I was like, it's the 70s.
Yeah. No,
that was a word that
everybody was a faggot.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
and especially if someone was gay, I'm sure that came out readily.
You wanted to use an umbrella. You're, were you a fucking fag?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck's the matter with you?
And so
it was all
this
over
is where
the
I
place.
saw that Jeff was like so vulnerable,
Yes.
and then got so angry, hits him with the plate or the whatever it is, the dumbbell.
Well, and he wanted to leave, and he didn't want him to leave.
And he said, "Dude, just don't leave." And the guy's like, "What?" And it was so it's so sad, and he didn't realize he killed him
Until he had killed him.
for another few minutes, like until he all came down off it. Oh, and the other thing is he's like, strangling him, and I'm assuming ejaculating in his pants, because that's what happens when you're tuned that way. That has got to be the worst thing in the whole world to figure out, like, oh my God, this sexual gratification that I just got, I've never felt that before.
And I killed somebody, and it's
It took
illegal,
that.
and it's going to fucking
Yes.
ruin my life. And that was
Yep.
his whole thing. I think when you watch that scene, and he's so upset, and he's like, I just ruined my fucking life. I just killed somebody.
And think how strongly our sexual urges are, like our need to just, and especially as men. I mean, men do fucked up shit, women are a bit more reserved and can kind of use their brains to think about stuff. But with a guy, if you have that in you where you turn into this monster and have to kill something to get that release, fuck,
Well, and I think that's a lot of things. And we're at the end of the show, but I just want to say, like, there's a lot of women that, a friend of mine always says that there's a difference between rape and regret. And a lot of women, I think, have sex in the moment because they're fucking horny and they regret it, and they consider it rape because they're like, as soon as they have that, like, post nut, as men call it, clarity, they're like, I would have never done that if I wasn't horny.
Yeah.
And I think that men do the same thing, and we all do the same thing.
Drinking some.
Yeah. But men we all do the same thing, where it's like we get really fucking horny and tuned up, and then we're like, I would not have done that if I wasn't horny and or drunk and or whatever.
Yeah. And think how many families and lives have been started that way. Is just like, well, we all got drunk, and
it's so many.
I guess we're together now.
It's so many.
I know some personally. Yeah.
And the only thing you want is a cup of coffee, like, really, to just sober you up. And the best way to have a cup of coffee is in a Charlie Cat mug, really, from thesensiblesociopathpodcast.com. You can get them in all different kinds of colors. You can make sure that you get your hoodie to make you feel nice and snuggly and safe when nobody's there to hold you, or you just want to feel extra secure with your person or without your person. And it is getting to be that time of year, ladies and Germans. It is getting to be that time of year when you're going to want to make sure that you have your Sensible Sociopath podcast sweater, hoodie, shirts, your Sen socks. You got to make sure your feet stay warm and dry, or you're going to go crazy.
And hot cocoa, douchebags.
And you've got to get your hot cocoa in there too.
Yeah, douchebags.
And hairy and non-hairy legs for the Sen socks, ladies and gentlemen.
Women on the left, men on the right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
that's all one word, thesensiblesociopathpodcast.com.
Yes. And you can also check us out on every major podcasting platform, wherever you download it. Go ahead and download us there. We also are on Instagram at The Sensible Sociopath Podcast. And you can find me on Twitter, poking at people and trolling things, at Stephen Paul Cast. Oh, by the way, those two gay men in the 1970s, or those two men that were murdered by Dahmer in the 1970s, they're fucking PH Stevens, okay? So let's just make sure we all put PHs in all of our Stevens from now on, you pieces of shit. Sorry. All right. I have a ton more, but apparently we're not getting to it.
Well, we have to finish the show anyways.
That's for next time.
Yeah.
We should do a part 2.
Well, we might have to do a part 3.
So, possibly, yeah.
So
we've still got to finish the show before we finish the show.
Yeah. So let's at least commit to the middle section of the thing, but I'll try to get through all of it. I just know I'm going to take a lot of notes because I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah,
that's
and
all
I find it very entertaining.
It's an intriguing subject, to say the least, that all people, at least in some capacity, are intrigued by serial killers.
Yeah. Well, and it's a terrible thing, but it's great for us to see that side, the dark side of humanity.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why Nazis are so interesting. That's why, the communists and like everybody that's done something horrible is so interesting to us because that's us. It looks exactly like us.
And Roma, I'm still burning a question for you about this particular subject, but it'll wait until next time.
Okay, sounds good.
And so with these next episodes, I just want everybody to look at the sympathetic side of Dahmer because that's what I'm looking at, and it's a sad story as well as super entertaining and gory and violent and gay and all those good things.
Did you get it?
Got it, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time, next Friday live, and we will be talking about Netflix Dahmer. Watch it. Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Best podcast in the world.
The world would not be the same.
I like it.
No wonder my anxiety's so high.
Few people laughed. Few people cried.
Oh, what's in the box?
Most people were silent.
And that was it.
Now I am become death,
Sounds like a bad time.
the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, so this doesn't seem like a great idea to me.
I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
You didn't tell me any of that. That's crazy.
Well, Rama, when you're a hero, you don't tell everyone until you're on your podcast.
I'm about to hear some shit.
We all need to laugh.
I think just sitting down and, listening to...
The Sensible Sociopath. This is the shit you're supposed to be watching.
Gen X is gonna love it. Millennials are gonna be like, I'm offended.
You have offended me.
Also, my dog has a giant dick.
Oh my god, that's enormous.
I love it.
It's still a racist dog whistle.
Where you kind of have like a rotating cast of characters.
We're talking baby seals, eagles, wolves.
I'm just glad we're not going to have to eat with racism anymore.
It's worse than the butthole.
We're technically considered propaganda.
It is very contagious.
I think we really need to talk about environmentalism.
Like, are they studying pine cones?
Make yourself a nice stingray omelet. That's how Steve Irwin died. Cholesterol.
It's fucking delicious.
His father had ended up killing his mother and committing suicide.
In that order?
That's diabolical. I like it.
They had an apple gun where you could shoot Bigfoot.
Has she always been retarded?
I mean, she could have had a head injury.
You don't know anything about tartar sauce.
He had picked up a 400-pound statue and was like walking around with it.
Was the statue racist?
I'd like to think so.
It's like how they invented bacon and avocado to make a turkey sandwich tolerable.
I have a fear of fire.
Like a werewolf? Daniel, you've been our greatest viewer. Well, Daniel and Sarah and Katrina. Daniel!